Jump in here. Okay, we're now hooked up with Congressman Mo Brooks from Alabama's 5th District. Congressman Brooks, thank you so much for taking time to join us in the War Room today.
My pleasure, Steve. I apologize for being a little bit tardy. I was on the phone with another person and just got off, immediately called you.
Thank you, sir. Congressman, you're one of our heroes because you're one of the original, if not the original, populist in Congress. And you're known, when I think of Mo Brooks, I think of a fighter. And what I've loved what you said the last couple of days saying, hey, I'm looking around the country and what I see is an unfair election. And we're just not going to let this go because electors go to the state houses. If need be, if I'm not satisfied that this thing was done legally and that these are legal votes, I will take action. My constitutional duty is to take action when actually the electors get there in January. Walk our audience through what the facts that have driven you to this, and then what is your constitutional duty in January?
Well, very briefly on the law, a lot of people don't understand this. They think that election contests for federal offices are adjudicated by federal judges of the Supreme Court. That is categorically false. While the federal judiciary does have a role under the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 4 and 5, and Article 2 in the 12th Amendment, the United States Congress hears and rules on, with finality, all election contests involving congressmen, senators, and the President of the United States. So that being the case, on January the 6th at 1 p.m., the states are going to submit to the United States Congress in a joint session presided over by Vice President Mike Pence their purported winners of their electoral college votes, at which point in time, if a congressman and a senator jointly object to a state submission, then that triggers as much as a 2-hour debate in the House and a 2-hour debate in the Senate, and we then, as bodies, separate bodies, vote to accept or reject that state's electoral college submission. And quite frankly, I'm going to object to Pennsylvania on the House side. I'm going to object to Georgia on the House side. I'm probably going to object to some others because I am persuaded that their election systems are so badly flawed that the person who got a majority of the lawful votes cast by eligible American citizens did not get those electoral college votes that they should have gotten, that the election theft, the voter fraud was that bad. And I'm not focusing on what is all that's going on in these courts with a little bit of fraud there, a little bit of fraud here kind of stuff, or a mistake here or there, computer glitches, whatever. I'm talking about systemic problems, flaws with the American election system that have allowed the Socialist Democrats to steal, in my judgment, millions upon millions of votes by counting illegal ballots. And I can go into the details as to how that transpired and what I'm talking about if you wish, but I'm persuaded that if you count only lawful votes cast by eligible American voters and you count nothing else, that Donald Trump easily won the Electoral College. And that's how I'm going to conduct myself on January 6th with these Electoral College submissions by the states.
Congressman Brooks, I've known you for a long time. You're not someone that goes off half-cocked. What has brought you to this point?
Well, by way of background, I have a little bit of self-interest. I was the target of election theft once in my first election in 1982 at a time when the state legislature of Alabama was 136 Democrats to 4 Republicans, and I was trying to breach the dam in the northern third of the state of Alabama. And so the Democrats, to prevent me from winning, they rigged 25% of the voting machines to register the votes for every candidate on the ballot. That's 25 others, but Mo Brooks. 11 out of 45 machines. It was so bad that at one voting location, a good one for me, by the way, none of the voting machines would register my votes when you tried to vote for me. So the poll workers there publicly announced, if you want to vote for Mo Brooks, go sign that sheet of paper on the wall. Now, you lost your secret ballot right, but those who are willing to lose that secret ballot right at least had the opportunity to vote for me if they heard the poll workers announce that when it was announced. And so that's a little bit of a personal issue with me because I've been the target before. I know what it's like, and it's not right. And that really blew away my confidence in our election system when I saw how easy it is to rig voting machines and steal elections. So with that as a backdrop, the Democrats have systemically been attacking our election system and rendering it much more inaccurate than it used to be. And I'll give you one example that I talked about today in a speech on the House floor. The 1993 National Voter Registration Act was rammed through the United States Congress when the Democrats had control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. And the Democrats were pretty clever. They put a provision in there that made it illegal, mind you, illegal, for our voter registrars around the United States of America to require proof of citizenship when an illegal alien or a non-citizen came in to register to vote. You would think that the Democrats would want American citizens to be able to vote and that they would not want illegal aliens or non-citizens to diminish the vote of American citizens. But that's the exact opposite of what the Democrats did. So that set the foundation. Then the Democrats have worked hard to import and allow into the United States anywhere from 11 million, if you believe the 2010 census, to 22 million, if you believe a recent study by Yale University, illegal aliens. That's a huge potential voter pool. And then you add to it Joe Biden's brazen solicitation of illegal aliens to vote for him. Now, when did he do it? He did it on national television in the October 22nd televised debate in which he proclaimed that, hey, if Joe Biden is president of the United States in the first 100 days, I'm going to give amnesty and citizenship to over 11 million illegal aliens. So, in effect, Joe Biden was using that kind of platform to induce illegal aliens to register to vote in greater numbers than they already have, and of course to vote for Joe Biden because then they will have amnesty and citizenship. That is egregious. It ought to be criminal if it's not criminal, because it's certainly the solicitation of election fraud. And when I put all those pieces together, I thought, we've got at least hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens that likely voted based on all these things, and maybe millions. Well, that influences Arizona, that influences Georgia, that may influence Pennsylvania, although Pennsylvania has other issues with their vote. And then I look further into our election system and some of the other systemic flaws that the Democrats are exploiting, and that persuaded me that they have very aggressively fought to steal this election from the will of American citizens. And keep in mind, the socialists have a track record. They're not at all hesitant to engage in egregious activities to impose their social dictate on the rest of the population. If you look at Nazi Germany, socialist, Soviet Union, socialist, Communist China, socialist, they actually exterminated tens of millions of their countrymen and others who believed in freedom in order to eliminate that threat to the consolidation of their political power. If socialists are willing to do that over history in these other nations, and not just those three, but others around the globe, then certainly they're willing to commit the lesser crimes of voter fraud and election theft, and that is exactly what has happened in my judgment.
Congressman Brooks, I know you have to go. One last question. Are there other congressmen coming and rallying to your side on this, and anybody from the Senate? Can we anticipate this is actually going to happen? Because I think it's absolutely necessary. It has to happen if we don't reverse this by the 14th.
I have not asked any senator or congressman to join me in this endeavor. However, a number of congressmen have come forth on their own volition once they've learned, a lot of us didn't know this, that it's the United States Congress that determines the outcome of the presidential election. Again, not federal courts, not the Supreme Court. We do under the United States Constitution. And with that as a backdrop, as they learn more and more about the election theft and the voter fraud, not just the little things that you're reading about in these various courtrooms around the country, but the systemic voter fraud and election theft, they are coming on board, and there are probably double figures right now of congressmen who want to assist. Again, not solicited the support of any senator, but I hope at some point in time the American people will demand of our Republican senators that they protect our right to vote, and they try to do everything they can to make sure that this kind of election theft never occurs in the future. And one way to do that is to reject the submission of electoral college votes from states that have proven that their election systems are corrupt and untrustworthy and should be rejected.
Congressman Brooks, do you have a Twitter handle or any way people can get to you during the day and follow you?
You know, my staff knows all that stuff.
We'll get it. We'll put
you
it up,
can contact
Congressman.
my office.
No.
Yeah, you can contact
No,
my
we'll get
office
it
in
up.
Washington, D.C. Just call them up.
Congressman Brooks, you were old school. Thank you so much for joining us on the War Room.
Thank you, Steve, for everything you're doing.